In order to rationalize the denominator, we have to multiply the denominator by square root 6. Whatever we do to the denominator, we do to the numerator in order for us not to change the initial given. So this is equal to square root of 3 times 6 over square root 6 squared. And we know that square root 6 squared is equal to 6. Therefore, we decompose 6 in the numerator. We're going to get 3 times 2, and this is equal to square root of 3 squared times 2 over 6. And since 3 is squared and here you have an invisible 2, therefore you take the 3 out of the square root and you're going to have 3 times square root 2 over 6. This is not the final answer because we still have a common factor between 3 and 6. So by 3 is 1, by 3 is 2. Therefore, the final answer is square root 2 over 2. Keeping in mind that here we have to use the rule which says square root a times square root b is equal to square root a times b. Also, we might use square root a over square root b is equal to the big square root of a over b. In number 4, we multiply by square root 5, and the answer is going to be 5 square root 5 over 5. Simplifying, the answer is going to be square root 5. And here we multiply up and down by the same number, which is square root 3, which is equal to square root 6 over 3. Here we cannot simplify because one number is under the square root and the other number is not under the square root, so we cannot simplify them. Whereas if we had square root 6 over 3 in this manner, then we can simplify because both numbers or the fraction is all of it under the square root. So you can simplify by 3 and the answer is going to be square root 2 over 1, which is equal to square root 2. But we don't have this case, therefore this is the final answer. In number 8, we multiply by the conjugate of the denominator, which is square root 5 plus 5, and whatever we do to the denominator we do to the numerator. So this is equal to 2 square root 5 plus 10 over square the first, which is 5, minus square the second, which is 25. So it's minus 25. So the answer is going to be 2 square root 5 plus 10 over 5 minus 25 is minus 20. It's better that we take the minus up to the numerator, so we get minus 2 square root 5 minus 10 over 20. Now we still can see a common factor between 2, 10 and 20. Therefore we factorize the 2, or we factorize the 2 outside. So it's minus square root 5 minus 5 over 20, and now we simplify. By 2 is 1, by 2 is 10, so the answer is going to be minus square root 5 minus 5 over 10, which is the simplest form. We multiply in number 10 by the conjugate 4 minus square root 2, 4 minus square root 2, and while we're expanding we have 16 minus 4 square root 2 over square the first minus square the second, which is equal to 16 minus 4 square root 2 over 14. Now in some cases, and this is one of them, I prefer not to expand because we're going to factor again. And in this case here we have the 2 as the common factor. So this is equal to 2 into 16 divided by 2 is 8 minus 2 square root 2 over 14. We simplify and the answer is going to be 8 minus 2 square root 2 over 7. If we didn't expand, so this is way 2, if we didn't expand, you would have 4 into 4 minus square root 2 over 16 minus 2, which is equal to 4 into 4 minus square root 2 over 14. By 2 is 2, by 2 is 7. So the answer is 2 into 4 minus square root 2 over 7, which is the same answer, but we have 2 here as a common factor. Either methods are fine. You can use either one of these as long as they didn't mention the method, or they didn't say you have to write it in the expanded form like in this one. So you can use this method also. In number 12, you multiply by 2 minus square root 3, 2 minus square root 3, and this is equal to 4 times 2 is 8 minus 4 square root 3 over square the first minus square the second, and the answer is 8 minus 4 square root 3 over 1, which is 8 minus 4 square root 3. In number 14, you multiply by square root 3 plus 4, and you have here to expand because you have another term which is made up of square root 5 plus square root 3, so you have to expand with what you have wrote as a fraction here. So you start expanding. First times first is square root 15, then first times second is plus 4 square root 5, then you have plus 3 because square root 3 times square root 3 is 3, plus 4 square root 3 over squaring the first is 3, squaring the second is minus 16. So this is equal to square root 15 cannot be decomposed more than this, so it's square root 15 plus square root 5 and square root 3. You cannot add their coefficients because they are different numbers under the square root, so you keep them as they are, and 3 doesn't have any number to add it or subtract it to. 3 minus 16 is minus 13. You can take the minus up to the numerator, and your answer is going to be minus into square root 15 plus 4 square root 5 plus 4 square root 3 plus 3 into 13.